Okay, for the time being, it looked like it's over with. That would be Sikander versus Red Nose. But really, huh, you want to talk about tricky ass dudes. If you ever seen the movie back in the day, Harlem Nights, it's got a situation where there's a powerless black man, but he's a club owner. He's played by Richard Pryor, and he connives at the end of the movie a much more powerful white mob organization into doing something. And he kind of tricks them and fools them. In his most recent beef between what was actually Sikander and the announcer Tinto, Sikander allowed himself to be tricked into, I'm going to just say this, a Kenchi match. Okay? That's all I got to say. You know, I'm one of those people who kind of calls Kenchi players. I can't say. I'm trying to keep everything legal here, but you know, I mean, you got a guy with a sword already. He's got hella reach. You know, he can hit you almost from neutral. And then you've got an additional Sento. I mean, give me a break. You know. And then on top of that, with the perfect cameo, it's like fighting three people. I don't know why anybody that plays with Kenchi would boast and brag after a match. Like, give me a break. I don't even use the character, really. As much as I like MKX Kenchi, I just don't use this one too much. But that was a beef, right? And what happened, I don't know. Don't even ask me. Some type of words got exchanged between Tinto, who's a very popular announcer. Now, I think Tinto is probably one of your better announcers in the FGC. I mean, he's good. I think that he's like the Bob Costas, not the baseball player, but the old NBC announcer. He's kind of like the Bob Costas of the FGC in terms of announcer. Now, he's just an okay player. And he's evidence that, hey, there's a lot of people who are way better at talking about the game and commenting a game than what they are who play it. That generally tends to be the way that sports commentators are. You know, your best sports commentators didn't necessarily play the sport. But Sikander apparently got his feelings hurt, and he allowed Tinto to sucker him into a $100 match in which I think the agreement was if Tinto can pick somebody from the FGC, and if Sikander, I think this is a $100 match, and I think Sikander paid for this. I think Tinto paid for it. Basically, Tinto said, I'll pay you $100, and if you can beat somebody, you know, at tournament level, because there's an issue quite often with screamers, right? They run through 10, 15 people at a time in front of, you know, audience of people who they're screaming in front of. And a lot of people say, you know, once you become so good, okay, clearly you're just way better than the average casual that plays. What do you do against tournaments, okay? And, you know, I mean, I'm not going to lie. You know, against tournament level players, what some people will sometimes do is that you had this big thing where it's kind of like a certain guy is talking crap, but he's like, well, I ain't going to fight you, but, you know, I got a friend that can beat you, or I know somebody that can beat you. And what Sikander wanted to do was that it was one of those things where, hey, I know I can beat you. I really want to play you, all right? But Tinto deceived him into playing Kenchi. I don't even care that it was Red Nose because I forgot the guy's name, right? I don't know his name, but he's one of the other announcers over at Rips Arena. Kind of curly head, mixed race guy. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He wears glasses. He beat Sikander with Kenchi with one hand tied behind his back. If you are, you know, if you've become proficient at playing this character with a sword, an additional swordsman, and a cameo that can freeze you in place. All right. If you feel good about that, and if you've become proficient at it, you can probably beat You can beat 85 to 95% of people at this game. It's 3 against 1. And then on top of that, you can freeze people into place if you pick, Frost, Sub-Zero, or someone like that. I mean, it is the biggest form of handicap play single-handedly that's in the game. All right. So morally, even though, okay, because the way that this started out was that it started out like I imagined. Okay, Red Nose took the first 2 or 3. Sikander did the old adaptment, and he adjusted very well. Now, I'm going to tell you what Sikander should have did. And typically, I'm not a fan of this guy at all. But I'm going to tell you what he should have did. He should have made this a 1st to 7. What happened was adaptment and then readaptment. He played too many games. That was too many. 1st to 10. Man, that's just too many damn games. You typically are going to figure out a person through 7 games. 10 is adaptment, readjustment, adaptment, readjustment over again. It could have been that maybe if you fought 5 more games, Sikander would have readapted and started winning, 1st to 15. But I think if they would have did 1st to 7, Sikander would have beat Red Nose. And for a long time in that match, it was looking bad for Red Nose. It was looking bad for Red Nose and Kenshi players because Sub-Zero, I put him at mid-tier. A lot of people put him at bottom. But with the buffs, he's now mid-tier. A lot of people would argue top 10, even if it's 10, But I would give Sikander the moral victory here. But I would highly suggest in the future, don't get suckered, And basically, I know Tento is somewhere smiling right now. Because basically, I think the agreement was if you can beat a player tournament level of Tento's choice, then Tento would play him. And see, Tento already knows he's going to lose. Tento can pick Kenshi or whatever. He just doesn't have that skill level. He doesn't have that blessing, all right? But for a guy, which is why I compared him to Richard Pryor in the movie Harlem Nights. He was the weaker, black man in a big giant situation, but he was able to maneuver himself around and trick some big giant Italian mobsters. And the way that movie ended was just so funny. It was like him and Eddie Murphy was sitting there with the Italian guy locked in the safe. Now, if you breathe just a little bit at a time, this air that's in here, it'll last for a whole day. But anyways, like I said, I typically don't like Sikander, but I'll give him the moral victory here. Like I said, just don't get suckered again into this type of arrangement. Anyways, I'm out.